This is Jubilee. Can Israelis and Palestinians see eye to eye? Let's see it. Let's see if a group of 6 people can solve the Israel-Palestinian divide. This is gonna be possibly the most yikesy thing I've watched on the channel so far. So let's get into this.
Because A, it's not your land. B, you mentioned Jerusalem.
You can't tell me that, please. Don't say that.
Are you fucking... Oh, this is gonna be a shit show. Oh yeah, Rundo, I am sleepy all the time. My depression is oriented towards sleeping and working, and so I tend to just work until I need to fall asleep, and then I sleep ungodly amounts of time.
When it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I think I'm mostly emotionally sad.
I think it's not fair that, you know, a country that is peaceful be in a situation where we have to be threatened.
Being an Arab girl living inside of the Israeli state, it's pretty hard for me to find
Wait, have you, Big Orange Jew? I thought this just came out today.
exactly who I am.
We're the Palestinians. We still live under occupation, so we have no power.
I believe that every person, Jew, Christian, Muslim, should be full equal citizens under Israeli sovereignty.
Ah, fuck you.
We need just to end this conflict between us because we don't need the other generations to live the life that we live it.
Yeah, you can do it with a 2-state solution. We've had ways of doing this.
If we continue to do what we did until now, it's probably going to stay, and we need to do something else.
Oh, fuck. I'm deeply
My name's Hannah
uncomfortable.
Ziad. I'm 24 years old, and I'm an Arabian YouTuber.
My name is Dorit Sadon. I'm 25 years old, and I'm a Jewish Israeli Zionist.
My name is Bara Abdo. I'm from Nablus, 25 years old, studied public relations and communications.
My name is Khaled Zohar. I'm from a small town called Givat Ze'ev, right outside of Jerusalem, and I'm 24 years old.
My name is Arab Aramin. I'm 24 years old, and I'm from Jerusalem.
My name is Ron Bar Shafat. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a deputy
Wait, this came out a few months ago? Oh, wait, what? Okay, I guess this came out 2 years ago. I'm just fucking stupid.
director of a think tank that deals with law and economics.
My Israelis on the left, my Palestinians on the right. The first statement is, someone I know has died because of this conflict.
Okay. My father was murdered by 2 IDF soldiers. It hit us hard, especially for my family. We're only girls. And inside of the Arabic nation, that's really hard.
My friend, when I was 10 years old, Israeli sniper shot at her on her head. So that was really hard for us.
Jesus fuck.
I grew up during the second Intifada. I carry a list with me of all my friends who were murdered in terror attacks. So I have a list of 27 people that were actually very close to me. In Israel, we have a Memorials Day, so I have always a dilemma to which grave to go to.
On 16th of January 2007, an Israeli soldier shot and killed my sister Abir. She was 10 years old, from the first school, and I was 13.
Oh, fucking shit. Dude. Like...
We're 6 kids in the house. After that, we became 2 sisters and 3 brothers.
all of the people that I know have lost someone to the war in some way. And I think like grief is such a universal emotion that like I want to hug all of you.
I serve in the IDF. I still serve in the Army Reserves, combat. I was very combat in the second Intifada, and I feel your grief, and I understand it. But I have to say that I never got an order to shoot someone. The order was only to shoot if someone is a threat to your life or a threat to someone else's lives.
I also served in the IDF.
Yeah, you know. Only we never got the order. People just, you know, did it.
And they really do just teach us to defend ourselves. If we're not defending ourselves and we do kill someone, we...
I imagine saying these things right after these people told you that, like, a sniper killed a 10-year-old girl. Or, like, a sniper killed their dad. Or, like, a soldier came up to their sister outside of school and killed them in front of them. Like, what, that 10-year-old girl, you had to kill that 10-year-old in self-defense? Jesus fuck.
We go to jail.
That's not true.
But
That's not true.
I can tell you something. The soldier that killed my sister, he didn't spend 1 day in jail.
Neither did my father. Both of them that murdered him did not stay 1 day in jail.
I believe a two-state solution is possible.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Okay, I think the Palestinians, they will not stop saying that we want a country. So in the end, if we got to the point that we have our state and they have their state, so no problem.
It's going to be better for us to live all of us together, which is no state like Palestinian, no state like Israeli, only together and having peace together. Like there is no walls and there is no checkpoints, which has happened right now.
I'm with you. One state under Israel's sovereignty, and everyone's full equal.
Yeah, one state under Israeli sovereignty. Goddamn. Like, again, we went on this stream, we've gone over the Bet Salam report on the discrimination of Palestinians under the current Israeli state. They break it down into some really chilling detail. Depending on what city you live in Palestine or Gaza, you have different civic rights. Depending on where you were born, you have different civic rights, and you aren't free to move to other cities unless you move to another city that has less civic rights than you do. Like, it is, Palestinians are functionally in these territories second-class or even third-class citizens.
Citizen. All right, okay, but under Israeli sovereignty, because right now why is that a problem?
Why should it be on one? Why should one religion control it? Why
It's
can't
not
the
a
three?
religion, it's a nationality. It's my nationality.
So if we said
hold
one
on,
state with the Palestinian, they control it, you can live under it?
No, because
So
because A, it's not your land. B, you mentioned Jerusalem.
you can tell me that.
K-Flow, what up? Also, the leaders of Israel specifically set it up as a, like, theocratic state. It's like, and again, Israel doesn't represent all Jewish people. There are plenty of awesome Jewish people who are not nationalists. I don't know. This whole situation's fucked. You're awesome, KF Logan. Everyone go follow KF Logan. A real homie. And like, again, these people are largely saying either you have, so I guess to break down what they're saying in this conversation so far, one of these guys is saying you should have a two-state solution. That seems to be the best solution to me. Another, and the rest of them are either saying one-state solution under Israel, which doesn't seem like what the other Palestinians want. What they want is like a reformation of the Israeli state into something that is representative of not just Jewish folks, but also a representation of Palestinians and their interests as well, you know? I remember as early as 5 years old being told in temple that children with rocks deserved soldiers shooting at them. Jesus. Can someone explain the two-state solution? Critical storms. Essentially, the two-state solution would be that the West Bank and Gaza are their own nation. Like they are collectively ruled by Palestinians, and there is like joint control over Jerusalem. That's essentially the two-state solution position, as far as I understand it. Like, obviously, there's a lot of other complicated things going on there, but in a nutshell. And there just has never been any agreement over that at all. Yeah. Yeah, Israel isn't going to acknowledge that they're an occupying state. Why do we have a theocratic state there? Largely because the conservative nationalistic side of the current majority party has gained the political power to make it into one. Also giving back parts of settled territory in the West Bank. Yeah, I mean, like, also a two-state solution would involve giving over illegal Israeli settlements to Palestinians, or to the state of Palestine, and that is likely something that Israel is not going to want to do. I think ideally it'd be better to have a single state that includes everyone, but I don't have any faith that that would work. Yeah, I mean, currently, if you pursued a single state solution, it would not be a joint venture between Palestinians and Israelis. It would be dictated by the presiding nationalistic party in Israel. I don't know. I would equate what the nation of Israel is doing in Palestine with ethnic cleansing. It's pretty bad over there, guys. And I'm sure we'll get into more detail as this conversation goes on, but we're talking about Israel now? Yeah, we're watching a video from Jubilee of Israelis and Palestinians trying to find a middle ground, which all three of the Palestinians have had close family members killed by IDF, so this is intense.
Please, don't say that.
I'm saying 100%. Palestine used to meant...
I can ask you one question?
Yes.
Please answer it. Your grandfather, you know where he is?
Yes.
Where he is?
So give me how many graves you want me to count?
7 before.
7 before, I know, yes.
Where?
7 before is in Hungary.
In Hungary. 9 before, he's in Palestine. Don't tell me it's not your land.
I'm saying it's not your land.
It's our land. And it will stay and will be.
Like, how do you determine this is our land and it's not their land based on what?
History, international law, interest.
On international law, I don't think you want to bring international law into this, pal. Especially with regards to the actions of the Israel's settlements and other actions they've taken. Israel is I think every single year since like the 1990s, the UN has condemned Israel for violating international law. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong.
Yes. How about empathy?
I have empathy. I'm just not willing to give up on my identity and what I believe is mine.
I'm afraid of the other side.
Whoa!
Afraid?
Whoa! We got a team of badasses over here in the Palestinians. Every single one of these people has had, like, their mom, their dad, their brother murdered by IDF, and they're not afraid. That's wild.
What I basically mean is I'm afraid of going into Gaza because I know that if I will go into Gaza, I might get shot, someone might kill me.
I think I hesitated a little bit because I don't think I'm afraid of the people on the other side. I think I'm afraid of the gap and sort of almost equally afraid of, like, you know, that side taking all of the responsibility for what is happening, or this side taking all of the responsibility for what is happening.
IDF.
Which is obviously not working.
Well, that's fair enough. I don't believe that all Palestinians are terrorists because that doesn't make sense. But I do believe that who is in charge, they're leading the Palestinians to, you know, hating us and in a way that, you know, it is really unfair.
Mr. Haggis, it stands for Israeli Defense Force, yeah.
Against what you said. They're not the Islam, because Islam didn't say killing people or having blood. Don't belong that
But
to
what
the
about
Islam.
the radical Muslims? The radical Muslims that come and do these things, what do you have to say about them?
They're not part of us. We never accept them as Muslims because they're teaching hate. And in a way, I accepted what you just said about there's a big problem with our governments. They don't know how to talk to each other. And in my idea, I really think the people are the ones that should be talking to each other.
I agree, and I have to say I also don't think there's an issue with Muslims, but I disagree with you about the fact that it's about land. There are several peace talks. They were offered 97% of the land. 98 would have done it. I disagree.
But after deciding with the land, they came and they built more settlements.
What's wrong with Jews living in Judea?
That's not the
Well, the problem with that is not the Jews living in Judea part. The problem is building illegal settlements across internationally agreed upon boundaries. To read this, Israeli settlements, civilian communities built predominantly on lands within Palestinian territories, which Israel has militarily occupied since the 1967 Six-Day War.
problem is that we actually talked about this land being for these people, and in the end, when we see Israelis coming in and actually building houses, that's showing us you guys don't want peace.
True.
I trust my sources of information on the continent.
So, what she just talked about, you know, again, this goes back to what we were actually talking about earlier on stream, the idea of coercive force, right? Building these settlements is a use of often soft power mixed with hard power, right? They roll in, they evict people who are in desperate economic circumstances, they bulldoze their homes, and then they build new homes. And those new homes are occupied by Israeli citizens, and then the IDF is obligated to protect those citizens. So it is effectively a way to enact violence and slowly expand the borders into Palestinian territory, a form of ethnic cleansing.
I serve in the IDF, so first of all, I trust myself and my officers. I do think that a lot of the information I'm getting is not accurate, which is why I try to compare it with different sources, and I also try to see it from people, what they think, what they feel.
I don't trust everything I see on the news, that's for sure. I do believe, again, there are two sides to every single story. But I do see things that are happening. For instance, you know, things like the rockets that are striking or the stabs that are happening. Those things I do trust because I can see that they're happening and they're just unfair.
Like, I see the narrative being written as like I watch TV. I know how important and how powerful language is and how it can create reality, and like I can see it. I'm like, this is really dangerous. Like on both sides, it's really dangerous.
Overseas media that I see, they're always against Israel for things that are not necessarily our fault.
I find it very funny because we look at it as and start saying that they're really with Israel, which is funny. I find it kind of funny. But no, I seriously do find the information that we're getting has more as an agenda to it from both sides.
I don't believe in social media. Like from the Israeli side, gonna support Israel, and from the Palestinian side, gonna support Palestinians. People gonna be very confused, and I'm gonna be very confused about the reality.
So to say, but the question was the sources, so it doesn't have to be just social media and reports like this. Like I also trust the reports that the Israeli security forces publish.
But they are
Don't
gonna
trust
write it in their
everything.
ideas, not about the reality and the situation, but their ideas. How do they see this situation? It's not really what happened.
I want political leaders on my side to make compromises.
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I'm curious to see how this shakes out.
For peace.
Damn. All of the Palestinians.
If we continue to do what we did until now, it's going to continue as it was now. And I don't see it getting better. Our leaders should have our lives and the best for us in their minds. And so it's not compromising. Like peace is never compromising.
The Palestinian politicians, they in the end, they want a peace for themselves and for their people. But they have no power because the power, it's not in their hands, it's in the other side.
True.
I would like for us to compromise only if you will be able to compromise. It doesn't make sense that every
God, this lady has crazy eyes to me.
time that we have a war, it's always started by your side. The other day I just heard
Oh man. Oh, these are daggers. Jesus. Like, can you understand? Like that lady. I think she said her father. No. Somebody else was killed. Like I think her brother. Her brother was killed, and she's like saying like, "Yeah, I'm willing to make a compromise for peace here." Meanwhile, the other lady's like, "Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think we should compromise for peace, you know?"
you will be able to compromise. It doesn't make sense that every time that we have a war, it's always started by your side. The other day I just heard about, over 1,800 acres of crops have been burnt by, Hamas, who have been sending it over to Israel. Instead of, spending all that money in order to ruin us, why don't they spend it on taking care of Palestine?
One second. You're talking about Hamas. You're talking about Gaza. Gaza, it's so far from us. We don't know what's going over there. We don't know. If you can ask me about the West Bank, I'm gonna answer, and I think you as well.
But here's the way I see it when you're talking about compromise. Hamas's charter says murder the Jews wherever they are, and the PA that are the hold on. But the PA that are the moderates.
You're going back to Hamas.
So, but the PA, the
We're not
Palestinian
talking
Authority,
about
the
them.
Palestinian Authority that are, let me finish. The Palestinian Authority that are the moderates, they're saying it's a death sentence if you sell your house to a Jew. Are there racist people in Israel? Of course. Are there racist people everywhere in the world? Yes. But we condemn people who are acting violently, and the other side glorifies it.
Well, you employ state-sanctioned violence. That's different. Like your violence is validated by your state, and your state holds more power than the Palestinian state.
Violence is sometimes justified.
Oh, I don't know.
If you're going to attack Israel, then Israel is going to defend themselves. And that means when it comes to certain things, maybe not you specifically, but again, to the radical
Maybe not you. Maybe.
Muslims, we have to. Because if we don't, then there's not going to be a state of Israel anymore.
I don't think it's a matter of Israeli Arabs or Jews, Christians. Sometimes in life you have to use violence. I hope it will be close to zero as possible. But if I see someone about to murder someone else, I think it's okay for me to use violence to stop that. I think violence is not allowed for a political goal. I think that's a bad place to use violence. I prefer talking and having a
Notice how none of these people have justified the illegal settlements on the West Bank, even though the Palestinians have brought that up.
discourse.
Okay, I didn't grow up with a lot of violence, with zero violence, but what I went to say, the same as you said, who comes to my house to break the door to take my father, of course I will defend for myself. So it's called a violence, but I want to defend for myself.
First of all, I am.
And he says that from a place of knowing, because his sister was murdered in front of her school at 10 years old. Like, yeah, of course he wants to be able to, like, defend himself.
Against violence 100%. It's a freaking circle that's going to keep on happening over and over again.
For me, if you're gonna react for the violence with violence, so here we go. We're having like the same problems, the same generation who's raised with hatred and violence and love blood, which is not acceptable.
Having a homeland for my people is important to me.
I think that Israel needs to be our homeland, because if we won't have a homeland, no one else is going to accept us anywhere else, especially because there's a lot of racism and anti-Semitism as well. So if we're not going to be here, where are we going to go?
Okay, for me as a Muslim, the Holy Land, why it's so important. First of all, because I was born here. I have no place, another place.
Every single person around the world have the right to live in the place that they were born in.
True.
And
Based.
that's the right for Palestinians. Also, if we're going to talk about refugees, also, they have the right to come back here to their lands, to their homes, and have their places.
The fact that we came back to our homeland and that we do have a country and a government here, for me, like, it does feel like a miracle. But I also think that the fact that we do
A miracle that came at the cost of, like, evicting, like, hundreds of thousands of people.
have the power now gives us more responsibility, and that we can't just base it on the fact that it's our homeland and not hear other voices saying we feel the same about the same place.
I often question my place in this conflict.
All the time I'm questioning if it's more dialogue, more force, more conversations, more social media. I always ask myself what is the best thing. I tend to believe that the best thing is human interaction.
A lot of times I take a step back from like the political argument about the conflict and all.
I just wanna say, I find this guy to be super sus. I do not trust him.
Argument about the conflict and all of that, just because I feel like unworthy and that I don't know enough.
So in my way, I've always known what I am in this conflict. I always knew I wanted to fight for peace. That's all I knew, and that's all I will ever know. I never was in the idea of this conflict until my father passed away, and then I had to think for myself.
I always was asking my father why I was born. And his answer, not to kill, to live, to be in life. And when my sister, she got killed, I went back to him to tell him, he told me I was born to live, not to kill. But my sister, she was born to die. The Palestinians, they didn't kill 6 million Israelis. And the Israelis still, they didn't kill 6 million Palestinians. There is a Germanian embassy in Tel Aviv, and there is a Israeli embassy in Germany. So it's a big hope. It always gives me a hope when I'm looking at this and thinking a little bit about this.
I gotta say, I think it's nice slogans. I don't think that's the case. Israel has a peace treaty with Egypt, because Egypt was willing to have peace with Israel. Israel has a peace treaty with Jordan because the Jordanians were willing to have a peace treaty with Israel.
Also, from one to one, it's different. How
I
the way
agree.
you're thinking
I
about
agree,
it.
which is exactly why I don't believe in a peace between the two sides, because in my understanding of reality, the whole concept of Palestinian nationality,
Because you don't accept Palestinians.
I accept human beings. I'm saying that the whole
Oh, fuck off, dude. You're being so sus right now.
concept of Palestinian nationality is one goal, and that is the annihilation of Israel. When Jordan took
Oh, and again, he's conflating Hamas with Palestinians. Palestinians are not Hamas.
over Judea and Samaria, when Egypt took over Gaza, no one asked for a Palestinian
But you're combining
nationality.
everyone into one ideology, which is not right.
Why? What do you mean?
You're saying because they're saying that they're Palestinian, this is what they want, which is
No,
not true.
I agree. I take it back. The Palestinian government, the Palestinian Authority.
There.
Okay, I'm not
Now
saying the
understand.
Palestinian people. I agree. It's different.
He's talking to 3 Palestinians right now. Yeah, he smiled when the girl talked about her sister being killed.
I'm going to say, okay, well, I don't refer to the Arabs of Judea and Samaria as Palestinians. I refer to them as Arabs of Judea and Samaria.
If we were gonna live long,
I love that he clarifies that he doesn't refer to the people as they refer to themselves. That's very cool of him. By his definition, what is the goal of Israel? I mean, I guess. Yeah. I honestly, I don't think Duvarian. I don't think the blonde lady was trying to throw him a lifeline. I think she was just seeing if he would recognize the 3 people currently present as human beings.
long age or long years, we're gonna see. We're gonna see each other.
Great.
And
welcome.
we
Welcome
get,
to come live with
we're gonna, we're gonna have it.
Palestinians. You can have it.
No,
today.
no, I'm talking about peace. We're gonna have it here.
I would like to sit down and share a meal with everyone here.
Yes, please.
Yo, she almost said no! I would like to share a meal with everyone here, and then they brought out a meal.
Hello. Hello. Hi guys. I'm Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
I'm Ido. Shalom. Salam alaikum. So there's on top some passion fruit juice, which gives a kick to the. So how was the experience, guys?
For me, it was perfect. Was good, and it was a good meeting.
It was topsy-turvy. It was upside down. The beginning, yeah. I could say that. Because like you don't know who's in front of you. You don't know their ideas, their ideology, what they think about you.
I think we did come to some sort of an agreement that we both do want peace.
Hold on.
So
Not everyone.
I don't think that's the... Literally, look at these expressions. Ha ha ha, yeah! Ha ha ha, no. I mean, a lot of you agreed you wanted peace, but under vastly different circumstances.
I want security, freedom, and prosperity.
You were talking about legal peace.
I don't want a piece of paper that says peace. I want to live in peace. I don't want a piece of paper that says we have a peace treaty.
that's what we meant as well.
No, okay, but we don't agree because I don't believe in a Palestinian state, and you think you should.
Yeah, which kind of necessitates, if you are stuck in that belief, would that not necessitate some kind of ethnic/national cleansing in order to facilitate this? That, like, there's no way to achieve this guy's goals without like massive acts of violence and state suppression.
We have like a two-state solution, so we don't agree, and it's also
No,
okay
but
to
then we
disagree.
did say we wanted a one-state solution.
Israel with everyone equal, I'm fine with it.
Exactly.
Well, I learned from you that you have a lot of sympathy for our side as well, even though your sister passed away, which is terrible. She didn't pass away, she was murdered. But I can see.
Well, you know what? At least she acknowledged that the murder happened. You know, that's sadly a very low bar that she was able to clear.
Have sympathy for the other side, and you actually are trying to, you know, communicate with us, even though you went through everything that you had to go through.
The amount,
on your end.
so like I'm sorry, I'm a pause champ here. I'm so impressed with the restraint of the Palestinians in this exchange. It's honestly, I don't know if I would be able to do the same. Okay, if somebody murdered members of my family, I don't know if I'd be able to stay cool talking with people like this.
And I definitely learned that we can learn to love your side as well, or I could learn to love your side as well.
I think this is the main point for our maybe conflict, that we did not hear from each other. So I think it's important to hear from each other. Not just keep your thoughts and ideas inside your head and don't try to open this box. Just trying to open it.
We want really similar things. Yeah, and it's sort of, you feel like, you know, my friends from back home. And so the realization that we do have the same sort of language, not in like the language that we speak, but in our body language and the things that interest us and the future that we hope for ourselves and for our families. Like, there are no sides. Like, I can't draw a line and say, okay, I'm like these people or I'm with these people.
Hey guys, this is Jason.
Well, that was interesting, you know? I just realized I had this knot of stress in my stomach the entire time. First of all, asked Eddie, one of the main issues with the two-state solution is the governance of Jerusalem and how that would work. It would kind of have like kind of this dual or split method of governance, which a lot of people on both sides aren't okay with. There's also the issue of the settlements that Israel has been illegally building for like the past 20 years in Palestinian land. There's also issues with various, you know, economic situations, territorial disputes, etc. That still exist. So there's a lot of sticky diplomatic things to figure out in a two-state solution. And some of these things might not be solvable, like, for example, most Palestinians want the illegal settlements returned to Palestinian control. And yeah, the two-state solution is probably the best way to solve this, but also is one of the least likely things to happen. When it comes to one-state solutions, there's kind of two different takes on that, and mostly it is either Israel just completely controls all of the current Palestinian territory, in which case there are probably really bad outcomes for Palestinians, or a hybrid solution that reforms the entire Israeli government with the assistance of members of the Palestinian government. That one might have much better outcomes, but it's also very unlikely to happen given the current administration in Israel. And the other part is that if Israel was to take sole custody of the entirety of that area, the current way that they treat Palestinians in Gaza and across the West Bank essentially gives different civil rights depending on which place you live in. So if you live in one city, you might have more or less civil rights just because of the city you were born into. And oh, we dropped frames. Are we good? Steam's not downloading. Good. Are we good? Doesn't look like we're dropping more frames. Depending on where you live in the occupied territories, you have different civil rights in Israel if you're Palestinian. If you go to... Okay, more lost frames. Uh-oh, the world of the stream is ending? No. There's something downloading, probably, though. Here, let's lower... Well, you know what? We're gonna put this up, see if that helps, okay? Should drastically lower our bitrate. What's going on with stream? Just got here. We are experiencing some turbulence. Don't go anywhere. So I'm gonna finish off saying what I was trying to say, okay? So the issue is, depending on where you live in the occupied territories, you have different rights, and those rights vary drastically between different cities. And you are not allowed to go to areas that have more civil rights than you do. So if you move to a city that has less civil rights, you effectively give up the additional civil rights you have. And yeah, that the second, third, fourth class citizenship this grants Palestinians, it sounds like discrimination because it is discrimination. Every major road between cities in the occupied territories has checkpoints run by the IDF, controlling who can come and go. It is very much discrimination. And if you need medical care and you can't get it in Palestine, then you need to hope that you have the ability to travel into Israel, and currently free travel is not possible. So that's it's not a single state solution currently for Palestinians would seem to be, given the past treatment of Palestinians and the current treatment of Palestinians, very bad. The USA could push for a solution, however, because of evangelicals in the United States has a vested political base in, like, keeping Israel run by Israelis. No, it is very similar to Jim Crow laws. And the issue is, in the United States, we have a dedicated base of Christians who desperately want to prop up the Israeli state because they believe that that is necessary to usher in the end of the world, the Christian apocalypse. So, yeah, like, it is a very religious-based issue in the United States, and within Israel, it is somewhat religiously based, but I would argue it's a lot of socioeconomic factors as well. Yeah, the U.S. could push for a solution, but we don't. So, yeah, it is a very complicated situation.